Hello! Today I wanted to film a comparison of these two warbirds and also talk about the differences in the flight characteristics and why they're different. Because even though they have the same electronics, the fuselage at this size does make a difference. So before we get too far into the video, I will tell you one is definitely better than the other one. And that is because of the fuselage design and the wing design mainly. But there are pros and cons of both. The biggest pro of the F4U is it looks incredible. I changed my pilot out, but it looks incredible. That gull wing is just so iconic. It's very recognizable. This model looks better than some bigger F4U models. It's quite detailed for what it is, and it flies very nice. That is a Mega Constructs pilot in there. And then we have the Spitfire, which other than the wing right here, which other than looking incredible, it actually does benefit avoiding prop strikes just a little bit better than the Spitfire. Let's see, I don't think I can get it to hold, but just check out that angle, and it's pretty high up. Notice how high the tail is above the canopy. And then because the Spitfire has standard wing, check out how much the tail goes above the canopy. I'm not sure if you could tell, but this has way more clearance for prop strike in case you're coming in hot. Another thing I did for the landing gear though, is I adjusted some toe in. If you can tell, that helps it actually track straighter. You don't want toe out. So with the Spitfire, we have a better fuselage and a better wing, and this is the main point of the video I want to get to. So I hope you actually stood to this part, because I'm bad at explaining things fast. So the Spitfire in real life was a very hard airplane to make because of this wing. If you notice on this wing, there is 0 straight edges on it compared to this F4U. It's much straighter, blunt of a wing. So the wing alone, not even talking about the fuselage, this one has more drag provided for the lift it has, including with this design. I'm not sure if this helped or worsened it, the drag, but it's just not a very clean design in terms of drag. The blunt nose compared to the Spitfire makes a big difference, as well as overall fuselage thickness. So the F4U has more drag and will slow down quicker, which is good and bad. So when you're off the power, you will stall faster with this F4U. Another big thing about the F4U is the center of gravity is actually better from the factory. However, I would say the Spitfire is a better plane. That is because the low drag really helps to this plane. So because it has low drag, when you're off the power, you should be able to glide a little bit better, and we will be testing that today. But you can see the fuselage is much more narrow. It was pointed from the very start, unlike the F4U, because the F4U had to fit a bigger engine in it. The Spitfire had a much weaker engine from what I know. The Spitfire actually has closer landing gear to scale as well, the placement of the landing gear. The wheels are in line with the leading edge of the wing, like this, and that's pretty scale. On the F4U, however, I had to bend mine forward because on the real F4U, when the wing is level, the gear axle is supposed to be right underneath the front leading edge. So I had to bend mine forward, and I'll see if I can include a real pic right now. But the real F4U, the landing gear, attaches and goes down from the front, not from the back. So with the Spitfire low drag design, it's very nice. The only thing is, it's kind of hard to tell, but the nose is shorter, especially where you place the battery in front of the wing. So this one needs a nose wing. The F4U does not, and in fact is a little nose heavy, and it flies pretty good that way. Another comparison, because of the wing has so much low drag, and also because of the wingtips, is the Spitfire naturally rolls better or quicker than the F4U. So my F4U, the only thing I've modified, which is not a part that comes from the factory, is my aileron servos to extend the roll rate on the F4U, because that wing is just so hard to roll over. The Spitfire with these pointy wings is very good at rolling. And the last note between these two Warbirds, the biggest note apart from everything I've said, is the distance from the propeller to the rudder changes how stable these Warbirds are. So the Spitfire having the further distance apart is the more stable Warbird. So if you're going to buy any 500mm Warbird and you're only going to buy one and you like the Spitfire, absolutely go for it. I fly these both on 2S, and on the Spitfire I recommend adding about 3 grams to the front nose right in that hole. I think it'll be fine for the engine cooling. I don't run these back to back. I give them time in between flying, so no problem there. With that being said, let's save the best for last and get started with the F4U first. So the F4U, the only thing I've done apart from stock, the biggest things, is I've changed the elevator servo horn to have more throw, but it's the stock horn. And then I changed the aileron servo to have more throw. The Spitfire, the biggest thing I've done is add the 3 grams of nose weight. Now, before we get too far up in the air, we all know about Expo, but I wanted to show you guys another setting I have on my Warbird to make it a little bit more steady. So check out the servo speed so far. That's adjusted just to be a little bit more realistic. I have a delay in my sticks, so I'm going to switch to my Train Star, which should have none of my servos slowed down. And let me show you. So this Train Star has more expo than the F4U, but let me go back to my F4U model and let's check it out.
Telemetry connected.
So if you would like to replicate that setting and play with it, because this could be good or bad for certain pilots. And here's a note of my expo before we get too far ahead. This could be good or bad for some pilots, but let's check it out. So my ailerons, because I have increased roll rate and the ailerons are pretty quick, I have 0.4 for slow up and slow down. And what that does is that changes the speed of the stick. So I can move my stick like this and it just adds delay. Then I've done that to my elevator, just 0.2. Keep it a little snapping because you don't want to go into the ground. And my rudder at 0.3. So it kind of just gives the control surfaces some weight to them almost. And that's it. I'm going to get the camera on my head and then we're going to fly the F4U and the Spitfire. Let me know which one you like more. So with these Warbirds, I want to note that even in real life, these are not easy to take off and land. You don't buy these to take off and land very pretty with. In real life in World War II, many pilots unfortunately passed away just taking off and landing. Taking off and landing these warbirds are not easy. Become good at it. It's a nice challenge. Don't complain it's a bad warbird, because once you get in there, it's pretty fun. So let's see if I could do a scale takeoff. Gonna do some flight performances and then try to do a couple landings in a row with this one battery. So let's go. See the wind, taking off with the wind. Let's try to do a scale takeoff. That was very scale. My rudder's way off for some reason. I don't know how to trim my plane with this. So let's try to get it quickly up to trim. I just realized I don't have my glasses on. So I'm kind of flying it a little calm. Let me land it really quickly and get my glasses on so I can actually fly. Oh my, one moment, I need my glasses. Okay, glasses are on. Redemption flight time. I have all my vision back. I couldn't see really. And the sun's low on that side. So it's a little bit better trimmed out. I'm gonna fly it a little bit more nose heavy and tail heavy today, because I have it where I can move the battery back and forth. So now the battery's in the stock position. Scale takeoff, hopefully. There we go. That's so much better. My goodness. Let's do a nice little pass.
Trim center.
Got to trim more up now that it's a little bit more nose heavy. It's about 60% power. Just trying to get it stable. Get it where it likes to be. Alrighty, I think we're ready to roll. So let's check out how it slows down. Let's gain a little bit of altitude and try to go over the runway, and then I'm gonna chop the throttle and see what it does. Trying to gain some speed into it, chop throttle. Slows down pretty fast into a very fast ascent. Let's see if we can maybe do a touch and go. Oof, I did a couple of touch and goes, but I ramped up my throttle too much. Propeller should be fine, hopefully. Yep. We go again. Like I said, these warbirds really aren't too hot at landing. They're mainly a really scale model that's flyable, in my opinion. I think that's a better way to put this model. because if you're expecting some crazy performance, you may be disappointed. I mean, it's very fun, and if you're used to the 1S Warbirds, this is a definite upgrade. Just checking out how it's trimmed still, how it likes to act when I lower power and all that. So with the drag gear model, you're going to need to keep more power when you're landing, or it's going to slow down and stall. But it's really tricky to get that right power mix. So let's see if I can do another touch and go. Don't want to let the plane get too far. It's a little floaty. I haven't been practicing touch and goes on this, but like I said, it's not an easy plane to fly. I will attach a small clip of what a UMX with AS3X looks like in comparison. But to be fair, these Warbirds are also much tougher than a UMX, so you may be better off challenging yourself to fly one of these, and then after you've landed it roughly a few times and then nicely a few times, then you get your UMX. But if you get your UMX first, you might be disappointed because it's extremely fragile. I'm talking dinner plate foam fragile versus this is kids' toy glider tough. I don't know what it is. It just bounces whenever it lands. It might be the location of the gear, but like I said, the real one has the gear straight up and down. Let's see if I can come in for a landing and then a takeoff. Okay, not the prettiest landing. I don't have a steerable tail wheel on here, so no! I tried to yank it to the right, but it skidded up. So with the Spitfire, I removed the tail wheel on both of these, but with the Spitfire, because the rudder is exposed, I just glued my tail wheel to the back there, and I still have a steerable tail wheel. So another pro for the Spitfire, pretty nice takeoff, and con for the F4U. So this is on 2S. I think it's pretty fast. My battery's low, so there it is, low battery warning. Oh my. And this is why I recommend belly landing these. But if you check out my field, I don't really have too much grass. So up next with the Spitfire, hopefully with the more accurate scale landing gear, it lands a little bit better. Even though the wheels are narrow, it can get a bit squirrely. Hopefully it's not so bouncy. I can deal with squirrely, I can't deal with bouncy. So that's the F4U. It flies incredible without the landing gear. So maybe I'll include a short clip of both of these at the end, but I definitely want to show you what a UMX looks like in comparison to these Warbirds. So if you can see this UMX and this F4U, roughly the same scale, they fly entirely different. So I've got my Spitfire loaded in now. Check out my battery organization with my battery checker. I highly recommend you guys get this. Extremely useful. Good to go. So hopefully the Spitfire, you can have some less bouncy landings. I'm maybe working on moving the landing gear forward on the F4U, but I don't have a 3D printer or anything to make it look professional. So I have to figure out something, because I feel like if the landing gear was more forward, like the real plane, it would be better, because they paid a lot of attention on exactly where all that stuff goes in real life. So Spitfire's out. Let's see if we're trimmed. All right, let's take off. Try to do our scale takeoff again. Very pretty. It doesn't seem, it wants to go up a lot, so it's probably not trimmed yet. Oh, it wants to go to the moon. Okay, I think that's better. It's way out of whack for some reason, that elevator. But I did adjust some things while it's been windy. CG looks good. I'm just checking out all the trims, getting the plane in certain attitudes. So let's see how it glides with no power, because that's one of the big tests we did on the F4U. Coming in hot, turning off power. Now I added it back. This one I think can fly at a little bit lower throttle, not only because of the weight, but because of the wing design, if you're staying level. This is just above 50% throttle. About 55% power.
Trim center. Maximum trim reached.
Yeah,
Maximum trim reached.
I'm on my maximum down trim for my elevator. Let's see if we could do a touch and go. I'm gonna come in about 30% power now. 30% power, just let it land. Ooh. Beautiful touch and go, my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. That was a very soft touch and go for how hard these warbirds are to fly. Very quiet warbird. Turned off the power, adding the power. Very beautiful. So that low drag design is really helping out this warbird with that wing. This is one of the best low drag designs, especially considering the real life aspects that held it back is not in the RC world, like being difficult to manufacture and having extra cooling that makes it more draggy. So this is actually one of the best wings you can buy in World War II. Beautiful, my goodness gracious. If that don't sell Spitfire, I don't know what will. So you can see, let's see if I could test my CG and show you. I test my CG by doing inverted and seeing if the nose comes down. Nose comes down gently. That's good. Let's see if I could do an inverted pass. Prepare for it a little because I kind of burned my eyes right there. using a lot of stick because, like I said, I have stock elevator stick. I got too low. I wanted to do a nice pass, but I got scared. Okay, here we go. Beautiful. See if we could do a touch and go from the other way. You want to come in at about 30% power and just keep it there. Nice, strong touch and go ability. It doesn't want to bounce or jerk forward too hard. Let's come in for a landing. Oh, definitely came in a little too hot. But you can see with those touch and goes, this Spitfire can fly a little bit better, to say. At least it can land a little bit better. Definitely. Very tough warbird. Even if you do that, no damage. My little pilot is still safe. At least that's what he thinks so. Let's try to do a nice takeoff. Got about 5 mile/hour breeze coming and going. Nothing too crazy, but it's noticeable. Coming for a fast loop and then a landing. Okay, let's try to be a little bit more professional here. Come in low. Come in low at 50% power. And then glide down. Whoo! Beautiful. Very nice landing plane. But wait, please wait. I want to show you what a UMX plane does. Because I was talking in the forums and there's some people interested in some old UMX planes. There's an old UMX P47 that's brushless, for example, and it flies incredible. But we have a little bit of wind. It's hard to tell with these heavy socks. You can kind of tell with that one maybe. So now I want to show you what a plane with AS3X is like. And then if you want these planes with AS3X or wind deflection, I want you to email the customer support. I'll leave the email link in the description and tell them, give us a wind deflection or give us AS3X. AS3X is copyrighted, so tell them to give us wind deflection.
Switch warning.
Okay. Now we're on to the beast. This plane is incredible. I flew it once, just one battery since I picked it up. I picked up this model for 120 bucks. Very minimal damage. But everyone says this plane's locked in because it has 2 wings and AS3X, and my god it is. Especially if you've come used to flying the Volantex RCs. Okay. Just quick, make sure everything looks right. And it does. So, if you want a plane that lands really softly, and like I said, I recommend this after you learn on a Volantex, because if you learn on that Spitfire how to land that, you can land these all day long. But this is a rare model, extremely rare, discontinued many years ago, so I don't want to land this and damage it. But before you can buy something nice like this, you want to actually know you can fly a micro nice. So learn on that. It's a tank. Fly when you're skilled on this. Alrighty, let's go back and reset my timer. Showing you how a UMX flies now. This is 50% power on a 2S. AS3X is doing its magic to make it look like there's zero wind currently.
RF signal critical.
Let me show you what a touch and go looks like on this plane. Extremely soft. Tail wheel was not on the ground. And then you want to do some rolls. You want to do some aerobatics. You want to do another roll. You want to do a flat spin. This plane does all of that. And then it's locked in on a dime, and when you want to land it on a dime's or moment's notice. And then you want to land it again because you're crazy. Then you want to do a roll. Then you want to come back and land it again because you're crazy. Like, very stable plane. AS3X works miracles. This plane can hover, but I don't want to do it for too long because I'm not going to risk anything to crash this model. Very nice flying model, especially the 3D. You see the non-3D version available way more often than you see the 3D. And the 3D has AS3X, but the other one doesn't. So this one flies really nice. It's a little fast for what it is if you're thinking it's super slow, but it's way slower than the Volantex birds. Just can roll on a dime, very precise if you want it to be. I noticed my tail wheel needs adjusting, but I just, this is my second battery, and a tail wheel adjustment is no big deal. That's all I've done. I didn't even have to clean the servos or nothing on this model. It was good. I did have to adjust the motor because he did nose it in previously, and it was, the motor alignment was off.
Signal critical.
Pretty good roll rate. It's about 3 or 4 rolls and a quick go. It loses almost no altitude when you go inverted. That's no stick, and then this is adding stick. So doing an inverted pass on this is way more comfortable. Can climb out of that straight with those biplane wings and that thrust.
RF signal.
So those are the differences between the Volantex Warbirds versus a plane with AS3X. So if you really like landing, you definitely want to get one of these eventually. Maybe not this exact plane, but an AS3X equivalent. Very precise plane. Don't want to get too low or anything crazy yet. So my battery's about to die, but let me do one quick flat spin and then a landing.
Timer 1 elapsed.
Coming for a landing now. Flying it on a 300 mile 7.4. Alrighty, well, that concludes the video. I hope you know what plane you're looking to buy next. Is it a Volantex? Is it a fancy UMX? Depends on your skill level, I'd say.